All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike. And today for UFC 300, I'll be breaking down the card with my guy, Brady. What's up, Brady? How are you feeling, brother? How are you feeling about this card we got?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. UFC 300, what could be, the greatest card of all time. I mean, it's stacked from top to bottom, from the very first prelim, Deiveson Figueiredo, Cody Garbrandt, to the main event, Jamahal Hill, Pereira. I was trying to figure out, what's the fight I'm least looking forward to, and I couldn't come up with an answer. That's how you know the card's good. We're not breaking down Cynthia Calvillo this week. We're not breaking down Norma Dumont this week. None of that. It's all great fights. I'm looking forward to it.
There's one that's kind of iffy, Holm Harrison, but even that one's pretty interesting. We get to see what Harrison's all about.
Exactly.
But all right, guys. So yeah, I'm really hyped about this card. Me and Brady were talking about it just a little bit before we started. It's a really good card, but a little bit hard in terms of bets for me at least. But before we hop right into it, let's catch up with the chat. We've got Daz. Indeed, on paper, I think it's the best one. Dixon, I'm not going to put your comment on, but yeah, I don't believe in it just yet. Well, I'll need some more sample size. Buffo, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Glenbot, what's good? Luca from Georgia. Georgia, the state or the country? Either one's cool, though. Glenbot again. And then we got our guys, Chronic Combat Conversations. What's up, guys? Make sure you check them out. They are almost as funny as I am and great dudes, very sharp. Make sure to check them out and subscribe to their channel. What's up, Hadim? Good to see you in the chat. All right, let's jump right into it. The first fight is already a banger. The UFC knew exactly what they were doing to start it off. We've got Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Figgy is 22-3-1. He's 36 at this point. 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. On the other side, Cody's going to be 14-5-0. 4 years younger at 32. He's going to be 3 inches taller, but be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Why don't you start us off, Brady?
Yeah, so after taping the fight and seeing the line, I was kind of surprised to see Deiveson Figueiredo at a minus 310 favorite, just because I feel like minute for minute this fight's going to play out, fairly close. I could see this fight, being a little bit slower pace, because that's kind of how Cody Garbrandt has to fight nowadays. You can't go in there and stand and bang until one man falls, obviously, because he doesn't have the chin for that. So I think he's going to try to be really elusive, but I just think at some point, throughout the 15-minute duration, Figgy is going to land one of those big shots, and I think Cody's probably going to go down. But yeah, not much sticking out here. I don't want to lay minus 310 on Deiveson Figueiredo. I think if anything, I'm betting him to win by finish, because if this fight does go to decision, I don't really see in what world he's looking minus 310. Like, he's not going to go out there and be able to wrestle Cody Garbrandt. I wouldn't think he's able to take down Rob Font here and there, but Cody Garbrandt has shown elite takedown defense, elite get-up game throughout his UFC career. So yeah, I think it's probably Figgy, probably eventually landing a shot. And that's kind of how I would attack it, if attack it at all. It looks like Figgy by knockouts plus 175. Figgy inside the distance is about like minus 120, which I'm not in love with those. So yeah, not a ton sticking out for the first fight of the night, but that's kind of how I'm seeing it playing out. I think it's gonna be close up until Figgy does land a big shot and changes the fight.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it too. I thought maybe I'd even like parlay Figgy, because I didn't really like many parlay pieces on the card. There's only like one or two that I'd even consider. And I don't think I'm going to have a single parlay now that I'm almost done with the card, but I can't do it. I feel like Cody's low-key live. Figgy, in my memory, the fight with Rob Font was way different than I remembered it being. I remembered like a spectacular performance from Figgy, pillar to post domination. And that's not really what it was. It wasn't really like that. Like, Font had a ton of success on the feet. Figgy did rely on takedowns at most points. He also relied on being able to cause damage, because you know how Font is. We saw it in the Marlon Vera fight also. He'll win every damn minute of the round, and then you hit him one time, and he's just falling over. He looks like he's just about dead, and that's what Figgy did twice. So is he going to be able to do the same thing to Cody? Yeah, it's entirely possible. Cody's chin is garbage too. We know that now. We know even at flyweight, he couldn't take it. That might have been because of the weight cut. We don't know. But at bantamweight, it hasn't worked out too great for him either. Trevin Jones in the third round was able to land really well. And Cody obviously wanted to avoid those shots because he was wrestling when he doesn't normally do so. If he tries to wrestle here after taking a hard shot, I think we're going to see a submission. So I'm kind of thinking like a club and sub is live for Figgy. I know a lot of people are on the knockout, and it makes logical sense because he hits hard and because Cody's chin seems to be gone. But I kind of feel like if Cody does get hurt, he's going to shoot, and Figgy's going to be live for the submission, whether it's a guillotine or taking advantage on the ground, taking the back, something like that. I do think he can get his own takedowns too. Cody does have really good takedown defense, but has it been tested to a major extent? Not from what I've seen. No one's really coming out here and trying to out-grapple Cody. No one's really working their jiu-jitsu on Cody. We don't really know what it's going to look like against a guy like Figgy. So I do like Figgy to win, but I think Cody's live as long as that chin holds up. Like if you're going to play Cody, maybe like a decision-only prop. I don't even know what that looks like, but maybe something like that. I'm personally passing, but I do think Figgy should win. I think ITD Figgy makes sense as well. But right now, I'm not on anything. I'm just going to enjoy the fight.
Garbrandt decision only is plus 180.
Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mean,
What do you
it's
think? Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think of the total, the alternate total, the under 2.5 at minus 135? I was kind of surprised to see that number because I think, Fig, if he's winning this fight, I think he's finishing, and he's a massive favorite.
That's really interesting. I didn't think it would be that playable. Under 2.5. Yeah, I'm seeing like minus 129. That's pretty good. I mean, Figgy's ITD is like minus 120, minus 110, depending where you
it
look.
covers the Cody knockout because Cody hits hard, obviously, as well. So
yeah, Figgy's never been knocked out, but this is only his second fight at bantamweight, and Cody hits real hard. He's real fast. His angles are really clean, so I wouldn't be shocked. I kind of like that. I kind of think it goes over personally, so that's why I'd stay away. I kind of feel like both chins are going to end up holding up. Surprisingly, it's just the gut feeling I have, but it does make sense. And if you're going to play Figgy ITD, you might as well just play the alternate 2.5 and pay up like 10 cents more.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, he's talking about your wall.
Yeah, I think it does go over. I was looking at the over 1.5, but I think they're all over. I mean, I think I saw like minus 190 for the over 1.5.
Yeah, and you don't want that because it's not like Cody hasn't been knocked out and under that. I mean, Kaikar France took him out in the first round?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be a little nervous to play that, even though, like I said, I have a gut feeling we go the distance here, but I'd personally stay away. Moving on, though. Next up, we've got Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Bobby Green coming in 4 months from getting knocked out brutally and honestly almost dying in the cage thanks to the ref. He's 31, 15, and 137 years old. He's 5'10" with the 71-inch reach. Miller, 37, 17 and 0. He's going to be 40 years old. He's 3 years older, 2 inches shorter, and they're going to have about the same reach. I like Bobby here. I think Bobby should win. I thought I was going to be slick and get like a Bobby Green decision only prop, and they're like minus 250 or something like that, which is, I'm not playing. I'm just not going to play that. Bobby, skill for skill, I think he's a better striker. Jim isn't my favorite striker. He's got a lot of power, but I don't think he's as good of a boxer as Bobby is. Bobby, I hate the hands low, and that's probably going to be something concerning here. And one of the reasons I'm not playing him is between the hands low and him just being knocked out brutally and him being hurt multiple times already in the recent hit past. I mean, Dober knocking him out, all of that. Kind of concerning against a guy like Miller who does hit really hard, who does have nice combinations, who has been looking really clean on the feet. Granted, it's been against, mostly crap competition. He's not really beating anyone great recently. And the one good guy he's fought, he lost to Alex Hernandez. And I can't even call him good. I just made the mistake of laying the chalk on him this last time out against Damon Jackson, and I thought I was going to jump off a cliff. It was a brutal fight to watch, laying money on Hernandez. So not a great look for Miller. Miller, if he grappled, maybe that could be interesting, but Bobby's got really good takedown defense, and Jim hasn't really been shooting no more, even though he has a really good jiu-jitsu game. If Miller wins, I think he catches Bobby. If Bobby wins, I think it's probably a decision. I know a lot of people are liking the Miller finish only, which also makes sense. But then I'm thinking to myself, is it really that crazy for Green to knock him out? I know Green doesn't knock out a lot of people, but he does hit pretty hard. He is very clean. And I mean, Miller got hurt by Moda. Miller got hurt by Ghost Pepper. So there's some concerning stuff there too. I'm gonna stay away. I like Bobby Green to win. Think he wins by decision. Maybe Green round 3 decision might be something I check out if that's playable. But we'll see. How about you, Brady?
Yeah, I think a green decision's a very viable outcome. The green decision only is like minus 330. Like, there's probably even some value on that, but not playing it obviously. I guess I'm kind of worried about Green though. I mean, has taken a lot of damage lately. Like that Jalen Turner loss. It wasn't that long ago, was it? I think it was back in December. It
4
was
months.
one. It was what?
4 months.
For me, I mean, that was like one of the worst stoppages I've ever seen. I've seen so many terrible stoppages in my days, but I can't think of a worse stoppage than that one. I mean, Bobby Green was done, and Kerry Hatley, let him take like 30 unnecessary shots. So I'm curious to see how Bobby Green does bounce back from that. You mentioned the hands down style. I like it personally, but Jim Miller, he doesn't hit as hard as Dober. He doesn't hit as hard as Turner, but he does hit very hard. So I think there is a path here for Miller. But yeah, there's a reason Bobby Green's the favorite. I think he's the much better fighter, the much better minute winner. And I think a Bobby Green decision's, the best outcome here. But yeah, I'm kind of on that Jim Miller finish only. Jim Miller, when he does win fights, he wins them by finish. The last decision win that Jim Miller had, I don't know, back in 2016, so a very long time ago. The last time Jim Miller was knocked out, I think, was against Dan Hooker back in 2018. So I think it's Green by decision, and probably a pretty convincing, like a 30-27 decision, or it's Jim Miller catching him. So I'd be looking at either Green decision, which I'm not sure what that is, but I know the Jim Miller finish only on DraftKings is plus 100, whereas on BetOnline it's like minus 150.
I'm seeing plus 165 Green by decision on Bet Online.
Yeah,
Fight Odds isn't showing like Bet Rivers and FanDuel though, so I'm not sure what they have it at.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising. Like, I think that's much better than laying like the minus 190 or whatever.
Yeah, I just feel like the one concern is like Jim is 40. Jim has been cracked, so it wouldn't be insane if Bobby came in here and did finish him late. So I think that's like the only reason that's even playable.
Yeah.
If Jim was like 100% durable and not 40 years old, I feel like that wouldn't be as good of a line. Moving on, though. Next up, we've got Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Jessica is 25-12-0. She's 32 years old, 5'1" with the 62-inch reach. Rodriguez, 17-3-2. She's 36. She's 4 years older, which surprised me. 5 inches taller, but she's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. Why don't you start us off, Brady?
Yeah, so I was looking at this fight, and what I got to thinking was it wasn't too long ago when everybody was like, Jessica Andrade is a washed bum. Before the Dern fight, everybody thought she was washed. She was a bum. She was done, including me. I was one of the people that said she was a washed bum at that point. A lot of people were on her against Dern. I think she's like minus 200 against Dern, and she won that fight. She looked good, but I mean, this matchup really couldn't be any different. Dern's obviously not the best striker, doesn't have the best striking defense. Rodriguez, very good striker. I just see this being a close fight. Jessica Andrade, I still have question marks in terms of where she's at in her career, because the 3 fights prior to Dern, she looked completely disinterested. She looked like she didn't want to be there. And on the feet, Jessica Andrade, I like the power, but she does leave openings. She's hittable. She's been hurt a lot. She's been finished 9 times. And I like the power of Rodriguez. I like the striking, the knees, the elbows. I think Andrade, in theory, could potentially get takedowns here, but that hasn't really been her game for a very long time. And even when she does wrestle, she doesn't hold fighters down. So I think we get a fight that primarily does play out on the feet, and I think we get a fight that ends up being kind of close up until there is a potential finish here, which I don't mind as well. So I'm kind of liking the dog money of Rodriguez. And then I think like a plus money under is not bad as well. Just, with the way I see this fight playing out, I think, these two are going to swing and go at it. I can see somebody falling here. So I like the under, and I'm taking a look at Rodriguez money line as well.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Honestly, like if I got to it when Rodriguez was a dog, I'd probably consider it too. But early line on Andrade is what I like the best. I just think she has more ways to win the fight. I think she can, like, not easily, but she can compete in the striking. Rodriguez is better at range. Andrade does have a very limited reach, but once she closes the distance, she's deadly. Her output is good. I mean, she landed what, like over 200 significant strikes against Lauren Murphy. And she doesn't grapple a lot recently, but Rodriguez is just a fish out of water on the ground. She really doesn't know what to do. And I feel like if Andrade really needs to go there, I do think she can get the takedown, just muscle her way there. And on the feet again, I do think she's fine. Like, I think she can compete. I think she hits harder. I think she's more dangerous. So because of that, at close odds, I got to lean on Andrade, but I can't blame anyone going either way. Marina's looked really, really good, unless your name is Amanda Lemos, Verna Jandaroba. I mean, the Verna fight just sucked. It was just pure grapple fucking for 15 minutes. Andrade isn't going to do that. I think if Andrade wrestles, it'll be mixed in. But yeah, I think she's got the tools to win the fight. I think the under makes sense too. Had Andrade not been knocked out by Yanji Anan, I'd tell you you're kind of crazy, and I wouldn't think that it's possible. But if she gets caught clean, we saw what happens. She can be put out. She can be finished. So, yeah, I like Andrade, but I definitely get both sides, and the under also makes a lot of sense at plus money.
Yeah,
My rule. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if I knew Andrade would come out there like with that Tisha Torres game plan where she attempted 12 takedowns, I'd be max betting her here. It's just she hasn't done that since like 2018 is the thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it'd be wise for her to absolutely mix in takedowns.
Yeah, definitely would be. And I was gonna say, like, my rule going into this year was if I see an under and I can at plus money and I can name at least 2 ways that it goes under or more, then I gotta play it. And now I'm starting to consider it because I can name at least 2 ways, right? Andrade knockout, Marina knockout, and maybe an Andrade sub. So that's 3 ways right there. So I might end up getting there too. It'll be something I consider and look at, but not quite there yet. Moving on, though, we've got another really, really good fight. I mean, I'll be saying it all night long. We've got Jalin Turner versus Renato Moicano. Turner is 14-7-0. He's 28 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Moicano 18-5-1. He's 6 years older at 34. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off here. So I thought coming into this that I would parlay Turner with something because I love Turner. Think he's real, real good. I remember the Drew Dober fight where I had Moicano and I was pretty much shaking in my boots the entire time. And I just felt like Turner would come out here, do the damage, get the job done. But then when I ran the tape, I got a lot of interest in the dog here. I really think he's live. Moicano's a really good grappler, right? And Turner's takedown defense has been real, real good. We saw that in the Garbrandt fight, but he can be taken down still. The thing with Garbrandt is Gamrot's control isn't all that good. Moicano, his wrestling might not be as good as Gamrot's, but his control, in my opinion, is much better. We tend to see that with guys who have better jiu-jitsu. They have better control. Better wrestlers can get the fight down there. If you have both, fantastic. Moicano, not my favorite wrestler, but I think he's got enough to get Turner down. Turner has given up his back before. He did against Dan Hooker, got saved by the bell. Who knows what would have happened if there's a bit more time on that clock. And on the feet, I don't think Moicano's necessarily a fish out of water. You know, Dober hits like a train. So does Turner. But I just feel like I've seen Moicano compete with people on the feet. I feel like he looks very clean. He's a clean striker. He does everything right. Doesn't come out here winging crazy strikes. It's clean 1-2s down the pipe, a jab, mixes in the leg kicks. I would highly suggest using the leg kicks here against Turner. Slow him down, take away some of that power. He does fade a bit, Turner. We saw that in the Hooker fight. We saw that in the Garbrandt fight. He does slow down a bit. And I just think that Moicano can catch him. I think Moicano can get the takedowns here and there. So I'm very, very torn. Hopefully you can help me out a little bit, Brady, but I'm leaning with the underdog in terms of a betting side. In terms of a pick, probably still picking Turner because he's so clean on the feet. And like he's got good jiu-jitsu of his own. Like I mentioned before, he does have really good takedown defense. That performance against Garbrandt was pretty damn impressive, if you ask me. And I think there's even an argument that he could have won that fight. So yeah, what are you thinking, Brady?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can really help you out because I do like Turner here quite a bit. I just think Moicano is actually going to struggle to get the takedowns here. And on the feet, I agree. I think Moicano is a very good striker, a very underrated striker. But I mean, striking with Jalin Turner is just terrifying. Like this is a guy in Jalin Turner where, you know, if he lands on you, he is going to hurt you. A 100% finish rate for Jalin Turner. So I think he does catch Moicano. I think it's early as well. Like you said, though, if this fight does get extended, Moicano is able to mix in that grappling. Maybe Moicano can get a late finish or maybe even win those last 2 rounds. But I see Turner catching him, knocking him out early. I think the chin of Moicano has always been a question mark, and I don't want to be questioning your chin against somebody in Jalin Turner who hits like an absolute truck. So I think it's Turner early. One thing that I do like in a spot that I'll probably be on is Turner 1-2, which is minus 125. All 14 of his wins come in the first or second round. And if it does get to the third, it's probably not finishing and he might not even win the fight. So I like that 1-2, get the price tag down at minus 125 for Turner.
Yeah, yeah, I don't hate it at all. I could see it. When did Moicano get hurt against Dober? That was like the second round, right?
I think so, yeah.
Word. So it makes sense. But all right, we can move on. Next up, we've got another one. We got Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopes. Yusuff 13-3-0. He's 30 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Lopes 23-6-0. He's 29, 1 year younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to be at a 1.5-inch reach advantage. Start us off, Brady.
Yeah, this is a tough fight to break down here because there's so many reasons to like Yusuff, and I mean so many reasons. I think he's obviously the much better striker. He's a really good grappler in his own right. He has paths to victory here. Like I could see him going out there, keeping it on the feet and outpointing, if not knocking out Lopes. You know, there's a path in terms of Yusuff getting some top control time, like an Evloev and like a Brito. It's just I don't know. I kind of have a feeling Lopes catches him at some point. The thing with Lopes is he's just so dangerous wherever the fight goes. He may not be the best striker. He may have no takedown defense, but on the ground, he's so opportunistic with the submissions. He has next level jiu-jitsu. He's very dangerous down there. And then even on the feet, not the best striker, but he does pack a ton of power. So I just have a feeling that, Lopes does catch him. The only thing is I feel like this line should be flipped. I feel like, Lopes should probably be the dog. And that shouldn't mean I'm taking Yusuff. It's just I do think Lopes is going to catch him at some point. He has 15 minutes to either find the chin, to find a sub, and that's kind of how I see it playing out. I don't know if I'm touching this fight though, but I don't mind like the under 2.5 rounds. The alternative line, I think it's like minus 140, just because if Lopes is winning this fight, he's winning it by finish. I don't see a world where he wins by decision. And then as far as Yusuff has a ton of power as well. And we have seen Lopes knocked out on multiple occasions. So I kind of like the under. I think that's how I might play it because the under is not too far off from that Lopes inside the distance I saw. So yeah, probably taking the under here. Could see a Yusuff knockout, but I think Lopes could win by either knockout or sub. But yeah, it's a tricky fight for me to break down, I think.
Yeah, definitely is. And the under makes a lot of sense. For me, I got to go with Yusuff because Lopes, you kind of mentioned it. He's a bad minute winner. If you can control him on the ground like a Brito, like an Evloev, you can win the fight just by out controlling him. I don't think Yusuff should do that because I don't necessarily think his jiu-jitsu defense is good enough to defend against everything Lopes is going to throw. And the dude is just relentless from down there. But even on the feet, he's an okay striker. I like what he does. He hits with a lot of power, but he's incredibly hittable. He's a punching bag. And I just think that on the feet, Yusuff is leagues better. I think his striking is so good. He's so clean. He mixes it up. He goes to the body. He goes to the head. He's got a lot of power. He's had a real, real good fight against Barbosa, who's another fantastic striker, much better than Lopes on the feet. I have some concerns because I've seen Yusuff wobbled in multiple fights at this point, like multiple. So I wouldn't be shocked if Lopes could catch him with something. He does have power, even though he's not the best striker in the world. And again, if it does get to the ground, Lopes will have an edge. But Lopes doesn't offensively wrestle. He doesn't really do that ever. He usually depends on people getting the takedowns. I think in the UFC, he has the grand total of 0. And outside of the UFC, you go to the Nate Richardson fight, he got some takedowns, he got some control. But Nate's a much lower level than Yusuff, and they have similar styles. And Nate still won that fight, which is a terrible look for Lopes. I think that was like 2 years ago now, a little bit over 2 years. So he's improved. He's young. He's only 29. He was 27 at the time, 26. So I get it. But I just think that if Yusuff can keep it on the feet, which I kind of expect him to, he should be fine. Like he took shots from Barbosa. He's taken all these heavy shots. I don't necessarily think Lopes will get the fit knockout. So I'm going to lean with the underdog here. I get arguments either way. The under is probably a nice way to play it too if you don't want to pick a side, but I'm going to go with the dog here with Yusuff. Moving on, though, we've got probably the least exciting fight in the card, but still interesting. We got Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Holm 15-6-0. She's 42 at this point in her career, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Harrison's going to be 16-1-0. She's 33. 5'8" as well, and she's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off for this one. I kind of want to bet Holm, Brady. you might have to pull out the bag of oranges because I'm pretty tempted. I know she's 42. I get it, but Harrison's, in my opinion, she's nothing spectacular. She's good. She's very good, very strong, very physical, but she has been competing at 155. Most of the women she's facing aren't very good at all. Some of them shouldn't even be 155ers. They just did it because that's the division that was available to them in the PFL. And she's very, very dependent on the grappling. Her striking is fine. It's nothing more than fine, in my opinion. I think it's just okay. But her grappling is very good, very high level. We know that. Very high level judo. But if she can't get the takedowns, like Holm, even though she's 42, she's still a good striker. She's still got it. She doesn't necessarily seem to have a bad chin. And the last time she got submitted, the only time I'm pretty sure was like in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So, and her takedown defense is really good. I think I already mentioned that. But as long as she can keep it on the feet, I think she's super, super live. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be a knockout. I think more likely a decision, but it's tempting. I wouldn't even consider it if it wasn't like plus 360. I just think that number's a bit off. Harrison, I think is just a bit overrated, if you ask me. I was not impressed at all by the Aspen Ladd performance. And she is cutting down to 135 here, which is worth mentioning. She's a really, really big woman. She's ripped. I mean, I'm nothing compared to her in terms of muscles. Like, the woman is jacked. And she's making this cut down to 135. And I'm hearing a lot of stuff from insiders, like people who know her, people who know the camp. They're saying she looks great. They're saying she's made the cut already. She made the test cut. But even if she looks okay right now, we don't know really how it's going to affect her chin. No one at camp is trying to knock her out. No, we don't really know how it's going to affect her cardio in an actual 15-minute fight. So there's a lot of questions there. I'm going to pick Harrison as my official pick. But in terms of my money, it might very well end up on 42-year-old Holly Holm. How about you, Brady?
Yeah, this is the one fight where it's like my money's probably not getting on anything here. Yeah, I do want to see Harrison on the scale. Like you said, a lot of people saying she's probably gonna make weight, but even then I don't really care because I don't really see myself betting on this fight. If anything, though, you're right, it is a dog or pass spot. Like, I see Holly Holm at plus 360, like plus 360 right now.
Crazy,
Like,
right?
that is crazy because there's some unknowns. Like, we haven't seen Harrison at bantamweight. This is going to be one of the best fighters that Harrison has fought to date. But yeah, Holly Holm, she's like 42. She hasn't looked amazing as of late. I think it's probably Harrison coming in here, dragging the fight down to the mat. I don't know if it's gonna be the most exciting fight. I think it probably goes to decision as well. I guess if anything, maybe I don't mind like an over here. But even then, it's not something I'm kind of running to the window for. But yeah, the over, I guess, would be like the one thing. But even that, I'm not sure.
Oh, I did not realize what the over was. It's minus 145.
Yeah, the unders have been getting smashed.
Oh, shit. Okay. I might have a play then instead of just playing the whole money line. I like the over, man. I don't think this fight ends. Like, Harrison's finishing the worst. She's finishing the worst competition ever. Like, she's not finishing anybody who's any good. She couldn't even finish Aspen Ladd.
Yeah.
And can Holm get another Ronda Rousey-esque knockout? Sure, but I think it's kind of unlikely at 42 years old. Like, how long ago was that? So, yeah, I'm surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I'm probably gonna end up playing that one right there. Either the over or the fight goes. I'll make my decision later.
Yeah, I think it stuck out to me for sure. That line.
Prime Aspen Ladd. You're right, dog. Maybe I should rethink everything. Impressive win after all. But all right, moving on. Next up, we've got, this is crazy that it's on the prelims. We have Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Kattar's 23-7-0. He's 36. He's 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Sterling on the other side, 23-4-0. He's 2 years younger at 34. Going to be 4 inches shorter and have a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Starts off, Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with this line movement at all. I think it's a really close fight, first and foremost. Sterling's coming up a weight class here, and he's going against Calvin Kattar, which is not an easy fight for your first fight at featherweight. Like, Calvin Kattar's a big featherweight. I think he's 5'11". He's going to have a height and reach advantage here. And then on top of that, Calvin Kattar thus far throughout his entire career has shown really good takedown defense. It hasn't been tested a ton, but when it has been tested, it's held up. I think on paper, it's like 91, 92%. And if Sterling's not able to get down Calvin Kattar here, I still think the fight could be competitive, but I favor Kattar. I like the striking, the volume, the power of Kattar as well. But yeah, Sterling, if he's able to get takedowns here, like one takedown for Sterling, that could be the round. He's really good at getting to the back. He's really good at controlling. It's just, can he do that in 2 out of the 3 rounds? I'm not so sure. So it's definitely a dog or pass situation here for me. But this line just keeps getting wider and wider. I don't know if people think that Kattar's washed or not. I'm not sure what's going on here, but yeah, I mean it's dog or pass for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's dog or pass. The only reason I haven't hit Kattar yet, because I think he's such a good striker. And at this point, I do think part of the line is the recency bias. We have people are looking at Topology. We got the Arnold Allen loss, which, was that leg that gave out. I don't know if that was because of what Arnold Allen did or if it just gave out. But I don't really think that's reflective of him as a fighter. And the Josh Emmett fight, I was there live. I remember it's always so awkward. I was sitting there with my fiance, and on the other side was another guy with his girlfriend or whatever. And he had Josh Emmett. He had money on Emmett. I had money on Kattar. And we're sitting right next to each other, literally right next to each other, cheering opposite ways.
Oh,
and when that happens, you want to win just so you're the winner and not the guy next to you. And when I heard Emmett won, when Emmett won, I just put my head down. The guy starts cheering, like hugging his girlfriend. I was like, fuck you, man. But I don't know if Emmett really deserved that victory. I felt like Kattar won that fight, but regardless, I was biased.
He did.
Yeah, I agree there. But for me, what makes this fight hard is I remembered Kattar having really good takedown defense. But when I went back and looked through his record, through like all the fights, he's not really fighting any real wrestlers, and the wrestlers that he is fighting aren't really shooting. Like when he fought Moicano didn't shoot once. When he fought Andre Fili in his debut, Fili, I think, shot one time or 0 times. I don't remember off the top of my head. Zabit got him down 1 time off of 4, but Zabit's a striker despite being a Russian Dagestani. So we don't really know what the takedown defense looks like. And Sterling's probably the best wrestler he's fought to date. Sterling's got really good jiu-jitsu, and Sterling's got that backpack that he's able to use really well. Normally, recently I've been trying to preach it, damage over control. The judges are really, really favoring damage, but I think it's a little different once you have the backpack, because then you're actually threatening submissions. Then you have like real concrete control where you're actually doing something with it. So then I think Sterling can win the minute. So for me, it comes down to, can Sterling take Kattar down? That's really the question for me, because if he can do it every single round, I think Sterling probably wins. If Kattar's stuffing the takedowns, I think Kattar easily wins. Sterling's a fine striker. We've seen good striking performances from him, but I think Kattar's leagues ahead in terms of boxing and just straight up striking. I like him a lot more on the feet. So I'm going to lean Kattar because I think the size will make a difference. This is Sterling's first fight at featherweight. He does look good. He looks thick and built, and like he's definitely taking the step up seriously in weight classes. But I lean Kattar. Just for me, it comes down to, can Sterling get the grappling off? So right now I'm staying off. But if the money keeps coming in on Sterling, my hand might get forced. I mean, do you think he's going to sub him, Daz? I don't know if he's going to submit Kattar. Enough to win the rounds, but I don't know if he'll sub him. The over's probably chalked, right? Yeah,
yeah,
of course
it is.
it is. Yeah, that's what I would have leaned if it was playable. But yeah,
Yeah.
both of us on Kattar. We can move on. Another fight that I can't believe is on the prelims. We got Jiri Prochazka versus Aleksandar Rakic. Jiri, 29, 4-1, 31 years old. He's 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. Rakic, 14, 3-0. He's 32, 1 year older. Going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Another fight that's super hard for me. Like, I lean Rakic, probably, just because he has more decision equity, and Jiri's so hittable. It's just ridiculous. The dude is asking to get hit, hands down, head straight forwards, literally sometimes asking them to keep going and hit him. And it's just very concerning at light heavyweight against good fighters. Rakic is a good fighter. He's got good striking. I don't like Rakic's output, which is where I favor Jiri. And I just think he's a little basic on the feet as Rakic, whereas Jiri's like really, really hard to predict. You never know what's coming next. I like the way that Jiri hand fights. I think that's going to work here well. But then, can Rakic get takedowns? That's another thing for me. He possibly. We haven't really seen anyone proactively wrestle against Jiri other than Glover. Glover went, I think, 5-14 off the top of my head. But and then I'm looking at what he does. He does the right things. He's using underhooks. He's grabbing hand control. You guys are going to see this from me pretty much throughout the card. This card has me thrown for a loop. I'm having a real hard time dealing with it. Gut pick, Jiri by knockout. I think he just catches him at some point. But if it goes to a decision, I do think Rakic takes it. So I'm going to lean Jiri. Think he's just a little different from anything Rakic has seen so far, whereas Rakic isn't anything, unique. It's kind of easy to prepare for, if you ask me. But yeah, I'm pretty torn. How about you, Brady?
Yeah, I'm very torn as well. I think it's kind of a clash of styles here in a sense that Aleksandar Rakic, his last 4 fights have been just brutal to watch. I mean, this guy just goes in there and he doesn't do anything. He's a talented fighter, very talented fighter, but he just doesn't do anything at all. Like in that fight against Jamahal, it was in the 3rd round. Up until that point, he landed 27 strikes against Thiago Santos. The fight he won, landed only 36 significant strikes, and he had Anthony Smith dead to rights. Only landed 44 significant strikes. So yeah, just very, very low volume, but I think Jiri is going to kind of bring the fight out of Rakic. Yuri's going to bring a style that's going to have to, I think, force Rakic to fight. So I think, like most Jiri fights, we're going to get a firefight here. And I think Rakic is actually live for a knockout because Rakic does have a lot of power. And like you said, Jiri, he blocks punches with his face, a 40% striking defense. And you just can't do that against these light heavyweights that hit this hard. So Jiri has been knocked out 3 times. He's been finishing all of his losses. I think somebody's probably getting knocked out here. I slightly lean Rakic here, but with no confidence. I'm like probably one of the biggest Rakic haters out there, but I do think he's going to have some opportunities here to land very big on Jiri. I was looking at the under 2.5 is, I saw minus 141 on FanDuel, I think. And I think that's kind of interesting considering Yuri's been under 2.5 rounds in like 31 out of his 35 fights. Just with the style he brings, it tends to lead to unders more often than not. So I think an under here is solid. I don't really trust either guy, but what I do trust is Jiri to go out there and make this a barn burner.
Yep. It's funny because I was actually looking at the over because I understand that Jiri's super hittable and he's been wobbled so many times, but his recovery is really good. Like the Dominic Reyes fight, I had to watch that over like a few times. The up kick, knockout. Yeah. Like he said himself, Jiri said after that fight, he said, I got knocked out. And then once my head hit him, I woke back up and started hitting him back. So the recovery on the guy is impressive, but at the same time, the chin's concerning. So I could see it both ways. It's a really, really tough fight for me. I've seen people really passionately on Rakic, but like you mentioned, the output is so bad. Like, what if he just comes out here and stares at Jiri and then just lets Jiri tee off? Like, it's possible.
It is.
But all right, we can move on. This fight will be a lot less stressful to break down and a lot less confusing. We got Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage to open up the main card. Bo Nickal, 5-0 undefeated, 5 pro fights, and he's minus 2,500 or whatever it is. 28 years old, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. Brundage, 10-5-0. He's 29. He's 1 year older, 1 inch shorter, and going to be at a 4-inch reach disadvantage. Brady, tell us why you're betting Brundage.
No, I'm actually not. I did bet him first round prop against Malkoon. I'm not really going back to the well here, although that seems to be a really popular play this week. And apparently, I think it was maybe DraftKings opened up the first round prop for Brundage at something ridiculous. So I know a lot of people got on that.
500 or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, I'm not touching any Brundage props here. And I don't know if I'm touching this fight at all. I think the under 1.5 as a parlay piece this week makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you add up the entire career of Bo Nickal, you get like 6 minutes. And I think it could be a situation where, one takedown, Nickal gets on top and finishes the fight. Just anytime we've seen Brundage on bottom, it hasn't looked great against Mikhail Olazechuk, Rodolfo Vieira, SD Dumas, Maximov, all these guys are able to have a ton of success on top. And I think it's no different with Bo Nickal here. So I think it's Bo Nickal round 1. I'm kind of leaning submission as well. I was looking at the Bo Nickal by sub or the fight ends by sub, which is I think minus 104 I saw. That's something I'm kind of looking at, but at the same time, it could also be a TKO just as easy. So I don't have any bets on this fight yet, but maybe something will stick out, like maybe that fight ends by sub. I know some people are on that, and I don't hate it.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I was looking at that as well. It's hard with a guy like Nickal because until he fights better guys, he can win these fights pretty much however he wants to. I think he can outstrike Brundage, even though we have really, really limited information on Nickal's striking. I do think he's the better striker, or he can submit Brundage. I really don't know. I lean towards the sub. I was looking at the round 1 sub. I think I saw like plus 165. maybe something I'd consider. I would never consider such a bet normally. Like plus 165 for a round one submission is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those spots which is like kind of obvious. So we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely not touching Brundage. There's no way. You know, I did when Nickal was fighting Val Woodburn. I did play Woodburn round one knockout. So based off of that, I should probably do the same with Brundage, but I just don't want to. I mean, you can't trust Brundage to do anything right. I understand the round one knockout hit for him the last 2 times, but let's be real here. He got the disqualification win against Malkoun. He was not going to knock out Malkoun in that first round. And the Zach Reese fight, I cashed there. That was great, but is that going to happen to Bo Nickal? No, that's not going to happen to Bo Nickal. There's a tremendous difference between Zach Reese, who was also like 6-0, but not the level of caliber of wrestler as Bo Nickal or athlete. And I don't see that. So I'm not going to waste anyone's time anymore. I think Nickal wins. I think it's scary betting anything because you're really just betting like how Nickal decides to win the fight. Moving on, though, we've got one of the best fights on the card and maybe my favorite one on the card. We got Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Oliveira 34-9-0. He's 34 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. Arman 21-3-0. He's 27 only. 5'7". He's 3 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off. I think Tsarukyan's going to win. I really do. I see a lot of people on Charles Oliveira, and I posted about this on my Twitter today. Like, there's so many people posting their bets, talking about how much they love him here. He's going to spark Arman. He's going to knock Arman out. And the line's not moving. The splits are all in favor of Oliveira. I think the handle, like the money is like, I think it was like 89 or 87%. And the percentage of bets is like 69% on Oliveira. But yet the bookies still aren't moving it. So to me, that means they don't want money on Arman. They're trying to keep people off of betting Arman. And I agree with the bookies here. I really do. Can he be hurt? Sure. Is Oliveira extremely dangerous? Absolutely. But something I know is that Oliveira can be neutralized if you can take him down and avoid the submission grappling. We've seen that already. We've even with Dariush, before Dariush got knocked out. Once he took him down and was able to establish top control, he was fine. There was nothing too scary happening there on the ground. I think that Arman's wrestling is elite. I think he can get him down, and I think he can stay safe. And on the feet, I think people are betting the knockout. If I had to guess, they're only doing it because of the what's his damn name? Joaquim Silva fight. I think that's the only reason they're doing it, because Silva hurt him. So in their heads, they're thinking, all right, Silva can hurt him. I sure hope you don't have Oliveira by knockout, Brady. But they're thinking if Silva can hurt him, so can Oliveira. And look, yeah, absolutely. Oliveira can hurt him. I just don't think he's going to get the finish. Like, what happened in that Joaquim Silva fight? Did Silva knock him out? No, he lost. He got knocked down. And then people were saying, I saw this and like I was told this, that Arman doesn't do much on top. Like, did you not watch the Yoel Alvarez fight where he just pulverized his head? Like, the dude definitely does things from on top. And on the feet, he's a real good striker too. Oliveira is good, yes, but so is Tsarukyan. He's real good on the feet. And something Oliveira's always depended on. Like, how many times has he been knocked down in the last like 5 fights? He's been knocked down pretty much every single time, except the Dariush one. And he's comfortable with that because he gets recovery time because no one wants to follow him there. But when they're down to follow him, it's a problem for him. That's why Islam had so much success. And I think that Arman will not be scared to follow him down there. And I'm confident even if he does go down there with him, I think he's going to be all right. So, yeah, I like Arman a lot. I think Arman finds a finish. I don't know at what point. I'm not going to sit here and call around. But I think the money line is fine where it is. I think it's bettable. I think the finishes are bettable. Whatever you want to do. Like, I really do think Arman should win this fight. How about you, Brady?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I definitely get it. I think Tsarukyan should be favored. I think he has a lot of paths to victory here. It's just, for me, it's hard seeing Charles Oliveira at, plus 195 here and not taking a poke at that. I haven't bet anything yet, but you're giving me Charles Oliveira at this big of a price tag, a guy that just has wins against Dariush, Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler, just really good guys. His last loss comes to Islam Makhachev. And yeah, I think Tsarukyan has paths here. I think Tsarukyan can hurt him on the feet. I think Tsarukyan can take him down and control him. potential ground and pound there. But I mean, it also wouldn't shock me if Charles Oliveira could land a big shot here on the feet as well. I mean, he's very dangerous. I mean, Charles Oliveira, he's hurt really good strikers like Justin Gaethje, like Michael Chandler. So I think Oliveira's live. And I haven't bet anything yet, like I said, but I'm probably going to bet Oliveira in some type of capacity. But I get it. Tsarukyan has a lot more paths here. It's just, getting somebody like Charles Oliveira almost plus 200 is something that I kind of like this week. And no, I'm not betting the KO prop. I think if it happens, it's maybe like a club and sub.
Yeah, it makes sense. I definitely get it. I don't mean for anyone to think I'm hating on the bet. Definitely makes a lot of sense. I just think personally Arman's going to win. But Ben Leclerc, dude, when did I compare them? Like, this is what I hate about capping, because people just make shit up and go with it. Not once did I say that. I said people are playing the Oliveira knockout because of that. Did not compare them. Oliveira is much more dangerous. Are you happy now? He's a much better fighter. Happy? Hate that stuff. Dad's saying Arman sub plus 1100.
Sub would be wild.
Would be pretty crazy. I personally wouldn't, but I think if he finishes, it's probably a knockout.
It'd be that ground and pound is nasty. You mentioned that Alvarez fight. That was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar matchup, Again, I am not comparing before this dude comes running back in here. Not comparing Oliveira and Alvarez, but the styles are similar. The dynamic to me is similar. That's all I'm saying. But we're gonna move on before Ben Leclerc comes after me again. We got Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. Justin's 25-4-0. He's 35 years old, 5'11" with a 70-inch reach. Max 25-7-0. He's 3 years younger at 32. 5'11" as well, and he's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage, coming back up to lightweight. Why don't you start us off, Brady?
I'm shocked at this line movement. And I'm picking Holloway, but I'm still shocked at this line movement. I thought more people would be like on the Gaethje side. It's a tough fight to call. Max Holloway coming back up to lightweight. It's hard not to go back, and a lot of people are going to reference that Dustin Poirier fight, and I went back and watched it back in 2019. And yeah, Poirier was pretty much hurting Holloway with everything he landed in that first round, a little bit in the second round as well. But as the fight went on, Max Holloway was able to get his volume going a little bit, having a lot more success, in those later rounds there. I think this could be a close fight. I think it could kind of play out a little bit like the Poirier fight, where early on, maybe Max does struggle with that power. Maybe Gaethje's the first person to knock down Max Holloway. And, Max Holloway, probably one of the most, if not the most durable fighter in UFC history. This is a guy that's absorbed over 2,000 significant strikes and has never been knocked out, let alone never been knocked down. I think that could potentially change here. If somebody's going to do it, it probably will be a guy like Gaethje. But, if Max Holloway is able to eat some of these big shots early, set a pace, land a ton of volume, I could certainly see Max Holloway just pulling away down the stretch, maybe winning some of these later rounds, maybe even finding a late finish as well. So I think it'd be a competitive fight. But yeah, like I said, I wasn't expecting this money line to crash down. I thought, if anything, a lot of people would be, a lot heavier on Gaethje. I saw the line was, I think like a month ago, blew out to like minus 285 for Gaethje. But now we're sitting at minus 160 for Gaethje. So, yeah, people seem to be on Holloway. I'm picking him, not with a ton of confidence at all, but I don't know. And in terms of how I'm going to play this fight, I think like the overs are solid, but they're getting like completely smashed as we speak. Like the over 2.5 is now minus 250. The over 3.5 looks to be like minus 170 now. I think the overs are interesting, but yeah, it's a tough fight to call. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's really hard for me. And it's extra hard because I have like 3 favorite active fighters, and Max is one of them. Probably my favorite active fighter. I mean, there he is right there, beating the shit out of Calvin Kattar. My favorite UFC image ever. My fiance made that for me. So yeah, I'm biased. That's why I refused to bet him in his last few. But even here, I was tempted. If I got the plus 210, if I got the plus 200, even if I got the plus 185 after tape, I think I'd do it. But I wasn't able to tape it until a few days ago, and the line's gone now. It's plus 150. And there's just a few things concerning me. And I know a lot of people are talking about the Poirier fight, and that's not even really my concern. Like, that was in 2019. That was a while ago. And Max this time around looks like he took this move up to 155 way more serious. He looked like he bulked real hard. He looks thick. He looks strong. So I think it's going to be a little different this time around. But, he is getting hurt at 145 in his last few fights. Like, Korean Zombie hurt him a few times. Yair Rodriguez hurt him a few times. Volk had him almost out of there. His whole eye was blown up. So he's taken a lot of damage. And while he's staying up, I see him getting hurt. And Gaethje hits so damn hard. And Max, if he maintained range and like tried to move away and not go to war, that would be one thing. But he doesn't really do that. He'll tee off at range, but he'll be happy to trade with you in the pocket also. And against a guy like Gaethje, that's a terrible idea. Also, the Gaethje leg kicks, I think that's something relevant and something that will really work on Max, who needs his feet to work. If Gaethje goes to that early and often, like we've seen him do time and time again, I think he's going to have an edge here. I think he has the power edge. Holloway will have the volume. Maybe something like a Holloway decision only, but even that's like iffy because damage is a huge thing now. And I think the guy who's going to be more damaged after 20, this is a 5-rounder, right?
Yeah.
After 25 minutes, I have to imagine that Max is going to look pretty beat up, even if he's winning the fight. So yeah, I guess I'll pick Max also, just because I think in terms of just straight technique, he's a cleaner striker. And I think his output is incredible in the pace. But it's a scary fight to bet on, especially with Gaethje's power and the fact that Max has been hurt. I think the thing that really threw me off was the Zombie fight, because I think Zombie hurt Max like twice. I think that in the first round and the second round, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, tough fight. I'll pick Holloway, but I'm passing unless the line really improves again, which I don't think it will.
I don't think it will. This line's getting it's crushing. It's getting crushed. Holloway's getting crushed.
What's Holloway by decision? Plus 275 on Bet Online.
Yeah, Bet Online has the best price there for it, it looks like.
I might sprinkle that, maybe like a half unit on the decision, because I think that's how he wins. I saw some people playing Holloway late, but I don't really think he's going to finish Gaethje personally.
4 or 5 decisions, probably plus money as well.
What's that at?
I
don't even think I can bet that in New York. That's why whenever you have me on the Best Bet show, I always ask you to check those for me.
Because oh wow, it's plus 200 that 4 or 5 decision. I wasn't expecting it's 200.
What book?
FanDuel.
Damn, and not in New York. I might have to call my brother.
You might. That's a good line. I was not expecting that.
He makes my outside of New York bets. But okay, yeah, damn. That's a really good one. All right, good to know. Moving on though. We've got Weili Zhang versus Yan Jianan in our strawweight co-main event. Zhang is 24-3-0. She's 34 years old, 5'4" with a 63-inch reach. Yan 17-3-0. She's going to be 34 as well, 1 inch taller, and she's going to have the same reach. I'll start us off. I think the line's a little wide just because Yan is really good too. She's a great striker. Her takedown defense is all right. She sucks on the ground. We all know that. We saw what happened with the Carla Esparza fight. But I just think it's a little wide. But at the same time, do I want to play it? No. Weili's an animal. She's a beast. She's still improving despite being this late in her career. Like 27 fights. She's 34. Usually we see people not improve at that point, but I think she's still getting better every single damn fight. Her grappling's improved leaps and bounds. Her striking just keeps getting better and better. The power is still there. She's still got that dog in her. Super nice lady outside of the cage. Nightmare inside of the cage. I think ITD for Weili is probably the move if you're going to play it. And other than that, yeah, I don't have much else to add. I think Yan is maybe live, but if I'm going to play the dog, I need to have be able to game it out in my head, see how they're going to win. Like with Holm, for example, plus 360, I can see how she wins, like a boring decision where she's out striking Kayla Harrison. Here, how does Yan win? Either catch Weili like she did, like Rose did, which I don't really think is going to happen, or outstrike her and keep it on the feet for 5 rounds, which I also think is a difficult ask. So it's Weili and Weili ITD for me. How about you, Brady?
Yeah. I agree 100%. I think for Yan to win this fight, I think it's going to have to be a huge mental error on the Zhang Weili side. I think for Yan to win, Zhang Weili is going to have to come in here and just not shoot takedowns. Because if she doesn't shoot takedowns, Yan can absolutely win across 25. I don't think Yan's catching her. I mean, Yan, I think her power is really overrated. She has 10 UFC fights, only 1 knockout. and only one knockdown even. And it was against Jessica Andrade, where Andrade ran in there like an idiot with her hands down and got caught. So even like the Yan KO, I don't really see. And then I don't really see Zhang Weili going out there and striking with her for 25 minutes. So I think Zhang Weili should be able to get takedowns here, and when she does, it's probably it's a wrap. Might take a round or two, but I think she's going to beat her up on the ground viciously, and I think she finishes her. I guess the interesting thing is, TKO or sub. I've seen some people on the sub. I think it's probably TKO, but that sub prop is like plus 650. But yeah, the inside the distance, I think at plus money solid considering she's minus 500. And I think if she is looking minus 500, she's taken this fight down to the ground. And if she's taken this fight down to the ground, it should be just an absolute beating. So is the line wide? Maybe. I mean, but she can go out there and look minus 500 with the right game plan, I think. So yeah, it's Zhang for me, and Zhang by domination.
There we go. If only that was a prop. Bet online. Get on it. Bet online.
Yes.
But all right, let's move on to our main event. This is another fight. Like, if you guys listening to me, I sound like a shit show right now. I can't get my mind straight. These fights are so competitive. I think most of them are competitive, and there's a really good argument for the dog. And here's another one. We've got Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. Pereira 9-2-0. He's 36 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. Hill 12-1-0. He's 32. He's 4 years younger, same height. Going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Why don't you start us off, Brady?
Yeah, the matchmaking is really good. I think there's a lot of very competitive fights. Of course, it's a big card. There's going to be strong arguments for either side on a lot of these fights. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of close fights on this card here, and this is one of them. This is a main event. It's a tough fight to call. Early on, I was kind of leaning more so Pereira, but after watching Jamahal Hill, I was very impressed with what I saw from him. I think his striking is very good. I like the striking, the durability, the cardio, the size as well. And I think he could potentially give Pereira some problems here. There is a worry. Jamahal Hill just had like a major injury, big surgery not too long ago, I think maybe 8-9 months ago. So that is an absolute concern. But if he does come back, looking himself, I think we get a very competitive fight. And I think Jamahal Hill is the younger fighter. I think he's the more durable fighter. And like I said, I do like his striking quite a bit. So it'd be dog or pass for sure. Plus 110 it looks like. So it looks like missed out on a little bit of. He was like plus 125, was it? Yeah. Plus 130. Yeah, so missed out on the line a little bit, but yeah, it's still in the dog here in Jamahal Hill. Not something I'm extremely confident in, but it's certainly a dog or pass. And then in terms of a prop here, I think the fight ends by knockouts, not the worst parlay piece in the world on I think it's FanDuel and BetRivers. They have it at minus 275. And on DraftKings, it's like minus 400. So on FanDuel, don't hate that as a parlay piece because I think somebody probably does get knocked out here. I think Alex Pereira obviously has a ton of power, and the Jamahal Hill a ton of power as well. We've seen Alex Pereira knocked out, but yeah, it's Hill for me, and it'd be the Hill plus money line there.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, and going into this week, I thought 100% one of the bets that I knew I would have would be Jamahal Hill. And I tried not to get ahead of myself and just bet it blind, and I didn't. And I'm kind of glad I didn't because I'm hesitating, and I think it's for a reason. Like, I think I've tried to fade Pereira pretty much all of his fights in the UFC. Like, with Sean Strickland, I tried to bet Sean, convincing myself that Sean would be smart and wrestle, which, of course, it's Sean. No, he's not. Then the Izzy fight, the first one, I backed Izzy. And then the second one, I backed Pereira. So my read of this guy's been just fucked, man. I bet Jan Blachowicz against him. Arguably think Jan won, but Hill's not going to wrestle like that. And the Jiri fight, of course I had Jiri, 100% I had him. So I think I'm like 1-4 against with Pereira, betting on or against, or 0-5. I don't remember exactly, but it's bad. It's bad. I don't have a good read on him. I think he's overrated personally, and his fans drive me bananas, by the way. I forgot to mention that. I hate his fans. I've never seen such creepy people in my entire life. Like, they can't look at the guy without being like, whoa. And then the shit they say every time he's near a woman, like, I'm not even going to repeat it on the podcast, but it's just uncomfortable. And get help. Get help. Touch some grass. That would be real good for you. But yeah, Pereira, his striking is fantastic. No one can deny that. High level kickboxer, a lot of power, crazy left hook that knocks out a lot of people, hurts a lot of people. But I think he's relatively low output. And other than the striking, he doesn't really have much. Again, not that Hill's going to grapple, but Hill just has more to offer, in my opinion. I think he's got much better output. I think at range, Hill's got a significant advantage. I have seen a lot of people talking about Hill being flat-footed, and Pereira does have those really good leg kicks, so I do understand that. I think that's a concern. One of the reasons I am a little hesitant to play Hill. Another reason I'm hesitant to play Hill is I think he's not really defensively sound. I think that the counters will be there for Pereira. I do like how Hill uses his range. He's real good at maintaining the range. He really leans over and uses all of that reach. So I do think he'll be landing a lot, but I'm just a bit concerned about the counters. I'm a bit concerned about the legs. One thing I noticed, and like there was some talk about it on Twitter, I saw some videos. Hill crosses his feet a lot in the Glover fight, which is like the only martial arts I know. I did Sambo as a kid and I wrestled in high school. And both of those, one of the first things you learn is don't cross your legs. But that's grappling related, right? I don't really know how that applies to striking. I'm not a striker, never did any Muay Thai or anything. So I'm not sure if that's relevant in a striker versus striker matchup. But it is concerning that he does do that. So just another thing that's in my head. I do lean Hill. Might end up getting there. I have like 5 fights on my list of I need to go back and retape this with a fresh mind. Something I try to do. Like if I watch a fight, like if I'm taping a fight and I'm spending like 3 hours of it and just like I'm like this over it, which was Moicano and Turner for me like the last 2 days, I'll usually step back, take a second, come back to it fresh, and then try again. So this is probably a fight I'll do it with. I think Hill has the output advantage, the range striking advantage. I think Pereira might have the power edge. It's hard for me to tell. Pereira did get knocked out clean from Izzy just right off the fence, which, didn't really seem like Izzy generated that much power off of that. So looking at that, how can I not think that Hill's live for a KO too? But all this said, what I think I like the most, now it's getting unplayable. I did play it early on at minus 140. I like the over 1.5. I think we're going to go over. I don't really think either guy's going to get an early knockout. I think it's going to take a second to establish all the striking, get their range, figure it out, take a sec to read. And then I do think the over should cash. Hill might come in here just going crazy, trying to get the knockout early. I know he's got a chip on his shoulder. He really wants to prove that he's the champ. So that's a little concerning. But if he doesn't come out there running like an idiot, I think we will go over the 1.5 point at a decent clip. So I do like it, but not at minus 170. I wouldn't suggest anyone play that. I think that's a bit too far at that point. But yeah, Hill for me, and the over 1.5, I think is a good look. If you can get better odds, maybe later in the week, but I doubt it, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was looking at the over on Sunday. Had it circled. I think I'm like minus 140, but it's gone. It's gone.
Tyler, we're not just. Have you ever been to New York? It's not just buildings here. We have plenty of grass, my brother, and I don't live in the inside of the city, so we got plenty of grass around here. What's up, Bill? Brady, are you ice fishing?
I don't know what that means.
I think because you're in like the wood cabin situation.
Oh yes, I wish I was ice. That sounds fun.
Hill hits way harder than anyone Pereira fought. I guess maybe Yuri, but yeah, I guess that's a fair statement to say. Like I said, I do think he's got a power edge here. Poatan old and wouldn't hope he goes down like when Izzy got him. Not exactly sure what you're saying, Daz, but he is on the older side of things. See, that's why, Tyler. You got to pull up, bro. You're the one who lives in a metal shack. I don't even want to hear it. You live in more metal than I do, and I live in New York, so. But all right, guys, that's it. That's UFC 300, 13 fantastic fights. Thank you all for tuning in. We got 108 people live. Appreciate every single one of you. Brady, thanks for coming on, brother. As always, it's a pleasure breaking down fights with you. Why don't you plug what you got going on, and then I'll do it, and then we'll head on out.
Yeah, a lot of content this week for UFC 300. Tomorrow I'm going live with Uncle Weezy, Monk, and Gordo for the DFS show on Pub Sports Radio. And then right after that, me and Uncle Weezy are doing Probability on, I don't know which channel yet, but we'll be doing Probability, a show that I like doing. And then on Thursday, I'll be on MMA Engine with me, Lou, and Uncle Weezy. Friday, the final thoughts. And then Saturday, best bets. Yeah, a ton of content for UFC 300 going kind of all out this week. And then thankfully get a rest week next week because I'm going to need it after all the content I've done this week.
Yeah, it's been a grind, and I've got a lot going on this week too, so I'm looking forward to that break. But for me, so today we got this show. Tomorrow, I think me and our guy MMA Propaholic will hopefully bring back Prop Talk. I don't want to promise anything because we've been terrible with bringing that show back. But if we do, that's our Twitter space where we just talk from the card from a prop perspective. Propaholic, that's literally his thing. He loves his props, and I think there's a lot of good props on this card. So watch out for that. We'll announce it probably tonight or tomorrow if we end up doing it. On Thursday, though, we got the panel coming back. Me and my guy, 138 MMA over here. Every single pay-per-view, we do our panel. Brady's been on it before, too. We usually bring on 2 guests, but because it's UFC 300, I felt it necessary to bring on 3, so we made a late edition. We're going to be joined by our guy, Pepe Sylvia. Dope guy, extremely sharp, probably one of the sharpest in the space. Looking forward to having him on. Uncle Weezy will be with us. Hype for that. And then Mr. Lou coming back finally. Free Lou, or the desk of Lou Betcha now. He'll be with us. So should be a really good show. And also, I forgot about this. Tomorrow, I'm going to release my YouTube shorts. So if you don't like long videos like this, you prefer 1-minute breakdowns for each fight, that's exactly what my shorts are. I'll upload all 13 fights. So 13 shorts, 1 minute each. Talk as fast as I can. I'm a pretty fast talker, so I think I can get a decent amount of information in there, and I'll break down the fights for you that way as well, and you can look out for that. And other than that, that's going to be it for me, I believe, unless something random shows up. I think that's it for my shows. And yeah, can't wait for this card, man. So thanks again, Brady. Thanks again, chat. Peace out, and good luck.
See you.